Welcome to the 15th unit in economics and the last unit in the theory of consumer behavior. So we just completed a session on the price elasticity of demand. And in this lesson, we shall look at the measurement of price elasticity of demand. Before I go any further, I hope you have liked the earlier sessions and you have found the notes useful, and you will share it with your friends and also subscribe to the session. When we talk about measurement of price elasticity of demand, we have different methods of measuring elasticity of demand. And this measurement of the response of quantity to the change in price uses different methods based on the data available, based on the need of the exercise or the context in which this exercise is being done. We should remember that the demand curve is a downward sloping curve which shows an inverse relationship between price and quantity, and therefore the measurements will give us a negative value, but you ignore the negative value in the measurement. So let's go to the measurement. The first method, the most popular method, is known as point elasticity of demand, and it has a formula where we have to say percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in price. Now the percentage change, the change is shown as a delta Q by Q, and divided by delta P by P. So when we expand it, we show it as cross multiplying it as delta Q by delta P into P by Q. Now this is a formula which is most often used to measure price elasticity of demand. I have a table prepared for you, and you can practice using this table by changing the numbers. You can change it and then try out what answers you will get. Now there are 5 pairs of prices and 5 pairs of quantity demanded, and they are in different colors. The first one is old price and new price is 3 and 3, and the quantity is 2 and 5. In which case, if we apply the formula, the value you get is infinity, and therefore we call it as perfectly elastic demand. In the second one is the green colored pair, where the price is 7 and the new price is 5, and the quantity, old quantity is 2 and the new quantity is 2. So the quantity remains the same, the price has changed, which means the quantity has not responded to the change in price, and we call it as perfectly inelastic demand with a value at 0. Then we can see the third one, which is the red colored pair, where you have price as 3 and the new price is 2, and the old quantity at 10 and the new quantity at 15. So in this particular case, if you apply the formula delta P by delta Q into P by Q, if you apply that formula, you will get a value as minus 1.5. This 1.5 is greater than 1, and therefore we call it as relatively elastic demand. The next one, the purple colored one, is 3 and 2. The price is 3 and 2, and the quantity is 8 and 10. And here the value that you get after applying the formula is 0.75, which is less than 1, and therefore we say it is relatively inelastic demand. And the last one I've put it as the blue color one, which is old price at 2 and new price at 4, and the old quantity at 10 and new quantity at 20. So totally what we get is the value is 1. After applying the formula, you get 1, which means that it is unitary elastic demand. So this table is very easy to apply. You can try out with different numbers. The second method is known as geometric method, and in this geometric method what we do is we measure the elasticity based on the segments on the demand curve. So there's a simple formula here which is written as lower segment by upper segment, and you can see a straight line demand curve being used. You can see how it is done. Now you can find the, I have chosen a point as P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5 on a straight line demand curve, and for the particular analysis I take point 3, P3, and we can see how we P3 is a chosen midpoint there. So we have the segment of the curve below the chosen point divided by the curve above the chosen point. So let's see how that. Also have put in a table for you. You can just have a look at it. The lower segment by upper segment. Now I have taken the total length of the segment as 8. So when we have at point P1, you can see P1. At P1 what has happened is there is no upper segment left there, and therefore it is only P1 by the total segment 8. So we get the value as 0. And that 0 is a perfectly inelastic demand. Then you have a P2 segment where you can see at P2 you can find the lower segment is 6 centimeter and the upper segment is 2 centimeter. So the value will be greater than 1. You can see that P2, the lower segment is bigger than the upper segment. Then the third one is lower segment is 4 centimeter and upper segment is also 4 centimeter, and therefore the value will be equal to 1, which is also visible. Yes. Then the next one is P4, where the lower segment is 2 but the upper segment is 6. So the upper segment 6 indicates that it has got less than 1 elasticity. And finally the last part of it, which is the P5 angle, where we have nothing on the lower segment, all on the upper segment, and therefore the value will be infinity. So this is one of the methods that are used in measuring elasticity. The next method is known as the total expenditure method. In this particular case, what is done is we consider the total expenditure of the family after the price of the commodity has changed. So if the price of the commodity changes, then according to the change in the total expenditure, we can designate it as elastic, less elastic, or more. It is not a very exact number. We don't get a numerical number, but it indicates to the degree of elasticity. So we can see how we do this. Again, here you can see that I have used a table. You can again try to change the table if you want to, and then try and understand total expenditure method. So the prices are given in the pink one, which is 20 and 10, and the quantity is 5 and 10, and the total expenditure of the family remains the same even after the price changes. So we would conclude that here the price elasticity of demand is equal to 1. Then take the second case where the price is 20 and the new price is 10, and the quantity demanded has increased from 5 to 25, and total expenditure of the family has increased from 100 to 250, in which case the family is spending more spending more on that because of the change in the price of the commodity. Therefore, we say that the elasticity of demand is greater than 1. And the third one is 5 and 8. Price is 5 and 8, and the new quantity is also 5 and 8, which means the quantity has reduced. The total expenditure, sorry, not quantity, the total expenditure of the family has reduced from 100 to 18, in which case we say the item has, the total expenditure has decreased, and therefore it is less than 1. The price elasticity is less than 1. So you can try and work on this, because it is simple in that sense that there are 2 pairs each. I have colored them separately for you so that you can recognize these different bands of prices, and with each band of price you can see whether the total expenditure of the family has increased, remained the same, or has decreased. We can see the explanation in the second. So there are three possible outcomes of that. So these three possible outcomes are: total expenditure remains the same with a fall in the price, though the demand rises. Here it is meant for comfort, where the elasticity is equal to 1. Day-to-day requirements, so not much. According to the change in price, only the quantity or expenditure will change. In the second case, we find that the total expenditure increases with a fall in price as quantity demanded increases. This is obviously true of commodities of luxurious nature. Because of the fall in price, people will buy more of it. And the third one is the total expenditure, where it with a fall in price, the actual expenditure falls. And these are quantity demanded rises, but the expenditure falls. And here we get the expenditure is less than 1. Now we can also see the diagram there. You can see the vertical part of the diagram, which shows the elasticity is equal to 1, and one elastic on the top and less elastic on the bottom. Now we can go to the fourth method, which is called the ARC method of RGD Allen. Now in this particular method, what is done is that we don't have all the data that is required, and because that data is not required, not available, the ARC method. Just edit this, the ARC method. In the ARC method case, it is measured on a curve and not on a straight line. So the curve, the demand curve is curvilinear, but the point where we want to measure the elasticity, we draw a straight line demand curve, and at that straight line demand curve, we tend to measure the elasticity. So it is useful when there are gaps between two values, either in quantity or in price. Now this has a formula as well. So we take a curvilinear demand curve, and then we draw a straight line there, and for that straight line we measure the elasticity. Now this is done by an average method because the numbers are not given, and therefore we use an average of that. Let's see the thing. It is Q1 minus Q0 divided by Q1 plus Q2 divided by 2. So one set of is Q1 and Q0, but that itself has to be divided by 2 because we want to find an average value there. We don't have the numbers, so we take an average value. Same is the case with price, where we are talking about P1 minus P0 divided by P1 plus P2 divided by 2. So whatever value comes out of it, we would call that, depending upon the value, we would call it as the elastic, inelastic, or less elastic. And let's see what are the points that we can think of with this elasticity of demand. Before I go to the points to ponder, we have done the price elasticity of demand, but there are other two kinds of elasticities of demand called the cross elasticity and income elasticity. There also the same formula that we have used for measuring price elasticity can be applied there, except that the price has to be replaced by quantity, and the price has to be replaced by income. And for the cross elasticity, we have to replace it with the price of the complement or the substitute good. So once you understand this price elasticity well, you can use it for cross elasticity as well. And the points to ponder is about the price of online games increasing. What would be the demand? And if you want to stop teenagers from smoking, will increasing the tax or price of cigarette stop this teenager from smoking? So thank you. The next lesson will be on the theory of production. So thank you.